the conscious intention into contacting these things, and that's why. I mean, I'm sure you could do it as you could probably do it solo, but the group of people feels like a integral part of that whole process.
Yeah, I think so. Individually experience something amazing, but
just like on Tom DeLonge, you're right, he is kind of an odd spokesperson. I mean, it's not like Blink-182 was pretty big back in the day. Like, I used to listen to him all the time. I used to surf back in Australia, and we used to listen to him all the time. It was good old days. But, I can't... It's not like he's a household name, I mean, he is more so now that he's doing this. But, Jeremy Corbell, I've said before, has kind of brought on board Robbie Williams as kind of a person who's way into this stuff, and like maybe he just didn't have the criteria they were looking for the Into the Stars Academy or whatever it is, but he seems like a bigger personality than Tom DeLonge, like a more international. But it was interesting when that Daniel Sheehan guy sort of talks about how he points out the specific players in the Into the Stars Academy and saying like these motherfuckers, like he doesn't really mince words. He's kind of like saying like these are some of the, the most what is the word he used? I don't know, but basically he's saying like they're all like intelligence people. They're not on our side necessarily. These guys have been involved in some dodgy shit back in the day, and all of a sudden they're like, oh, actually, now we're on your side, kind of thing. It is an interesting point of view from Sheehan on that. Right.
You're totally right. They go back into all the who's on that board and their backgrounds, which
Luis
is really fascinating in the documentary.
And there was someone else he pointed out as well. Mm-hmm. Like, these guys are all about like disinfo and gathering intelligence and manipulation, and all of a sudden we're supposed to say manipulation.
That's the key word, manipulation.
Say, these guys, they've changed their tune now, and now they're going to help us.
Right.
They didn't do anything to me personally, but
right. No,
it just seems like a.
Let's break it down for a second, because
not that I know. Well,
I think it's
no.
You didn't get a gentle butt probing? No. I mean, it is disclosure, though. So what they're doing is exciting to me in the sense that it in some way it is disclosure coming forth from the government. It's just control in the way we don't want. So it is exciting at one point. Like, it doesn't mean none of this didn't happen. Like, the Nimitz incident was real. That was a real incident. Mm-hmm. It's just being framed by this group as being more negative. It's always like they're in our airspace. They're going to get us. And they never, like, say anything positive. I've watched every episode of the History Channel show, Unidentified, and I loved it, actually. I thought it was great. I was caught up in it. And honestly, when Greer first came out, Greer sent out, like, a tweet or something, or a Facebook post, like right when all this started happening, and immediately said something like, watch out, like, careful what type of disclosure you asked for, whatever. Like, basically already calling him out like a year and a half ago. And at first I was kind of disappointed. I was like, oh, come on, Greer, someone else is taking your UFO thunder. Take it down a notch. But now I've done a 360 on it. I'm like, yes, that is exactly what's happening. It doesn't make sense. We should not be having a fear-based disclosure. It should be a hope-based. I totally back that documentary. I think it's important. I think more people need to watch it.
Although, can I just play devil's advocate for 1 second? Just one little thing.
Good.
Sorry, Matt. I know you're Mr. Devil's Advocate.
Steal my thunder.
Like, in life, when I think about things, there's nothing that's all good and there's nothing that's all bad.
Right.
So, I love his message, but, like, you can't tell me every alien is 100% the good guy. That's not, like, that in my head, that's just not possible.
100% agree,
just, like,
Melissa. This doesn't happen often,
bad.
but you and I agree 100%.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that.
So what do you think of this?
This isn't the Black Knight episode, okay?
Yeah, but is that over? Yeah, I think that's an important angle, but is that overkill, though? It's kind of like, driving a car, you can die, but it doesn't mean we don't drive cars. It's a bad analogy, but you get my point. It's like, if an overwhelming amount of them are positive, then why do we even focus on the fear-based shit? Like, why are we just shoved down our throat movie after movie that are just like about horrible alien stuff? It's like we shouldn't even talk about it because it's not happening. Like, it's just the media telling us, one, the aliens are ridiculous, and two, we should be scared of them. But really, the vast majority of the stories have no fear associated with at all. They even talk about in the CE5 expeditions.
Yeah, no, sorry, I was just going to say, they go into like the whole Hollywood bent on it, where it's like look, everything we see is like negative. They're alien, a giant lizard coming to attack us, or there's this unstoppable eating machine on a spaceship and we can't get away from it. It's all like fear and horror. And I think more than anything else, like, yeah, I'd watch that.
It's a great pitch.
But there's my point exactly, is I think it's because it sells. I don't necessarily think there's an agenda behind it other than making money. Like, maybe, I don't know.
Well, because
no, I think there is an agenda. I think
drama,
there is.
Though. You know, humans like drama. If there's nothing to fight against, like, what's the point of watching something like that? Like, it's a hero's journey every time you watch a show, or watch a movie. Like, they got to go from point A to point B, and there's always a dragon in between. So, I mean, yeah, that sells.
It's true, but look at The Arrival or Contact. Those are some of my two favorite alien movies of all time. The Arrival is one of the best movies I've ever seen. It's a top 20 film for me, and like those are done really well. It's just the fear of the monster, the dragon, the evil can be something.
That's kind of what that
it wasn't
like
in that
big
in Arrival.
Part of the
it
theme
was
of that film
humans.
Was
were the bad guys.
That was cool.
You know, there was that scare that we need to be fearful of these things, and you know that was a huge problem in the movie because you know there was that military guy trying to blow up the spaceship because they were so afraid of it, but it was going to, you know, destroy this relationship they were starting to build with these things. But I get that. But look, what do you think of this? So, watching this film throughout the whole thing, Greer's pretty adamant that these things are from outer space. They're alien beings from different star systems. Yet through the whole thing, and this is, I'll get back to this in a minute, of your point of like, can we, you know, is everything super friendly beer and Skittles Space Brothers? So
beer and Skittles, my favorite.
Skittle Brow. And so like everything that they mentioned, it always brought me back to, is this from outer space? Like everything he's talking about, like these are some of the words he used in describing what was happening. He says if something was phasing in and out of 3D space-time, or it was barely in this dimension. It was, you know, there's holograms. Things he was talking about, it continually got me thinking that this sounds interdimensional much more than it sounds. Like it's just these things phasing in and out of our reality rather than, we see lights in the sky and that sort of thing. But to me, it had a lot more to do with we're reaching something that's on a different plane. It's not within our reality. It's something that we have, you know, there's it to me it sort of reaches back to those stories of like contacting I'll say demonic entities or beings from other dimensions and stuff. Tricksters came to mind a whole bunch. Like,
why can't it be angels, O'Connor? It doesn't always have to be negative. It could be angels.
Yeah,
it could be
come on,
that's
O'Connor.
the thing about the trickster experiences people have is that it always starts off super positive, and they're helping, and they want to do what they can for you, and then all of a sudden shit turns bad, and all, you know, they're giving you horrible nightmares and they're sucking energy from you. I'm not saying that's what's going on, but I'm saying like
butt probing you.
There's a real like overly innocent approach to it, I think. And I don't know, like he doesn't discuss it. Maybe he's just trying to push that idea of positivity and innocence and all that sort of stuff. But it just feels like they're kind of leaving themselves open a little bit to, you know, they don't have any guards up.
Oh, I bet if you got him in a room, got a couple beers in Greer, he'd probably tell you one time.
Right.
Like one time we were.
I'd be really interested to hear if there was negative stories.
I
I'm sure he has them, but you know, it doesn't. I'm not saying it doesn't. You know, he's lying about it. I'm saying that he's trying to.
Yeah, but I think his thing is
this
like
can be a positive thing as well. But I don't know. It just
yeah. I think that's his mission. His mission is. And if they are interdimensional, is that considered alien too, though? You know, isn't that considered? That's pretty much.
Yeah, you could think about it like that.
It's not.
I just
in
think
this dimension,
to the majority of
an alien.
People who aren't really versed in these things, the idea of an alien from another planet, as opposed to something that's crossing through an interdimensional window into our world, are two very different things. But
yeah.
Well, I think both are going on. If you do deep dives on CE5s, you'll find people who end up in contact with a celestial being who came back to help to do something on Earth. Sometimes it's an alien from another planet. Sometimes it's an alien from another planet in a different dimension. Sometimes it's a being from another dimension. I agree with you that some of that might be transdimensional. I think some of it's just transdimensional technology that we don't understand, but they could be an alien from another planet. But I agree that some of these could just be from another dimension, whatever that means. It doesn't mean it's like our dimension. It could be a whole different scenario of energy, and they're just popping over quick to say hi to us. So I think you have some merit there. I still just like, I have to rail hardcore against the negative aspect of it. I just feel like all the stories in it, and the way it changed people's lives, and like, I get the trickster thing, but in this situation, I don't think that's happening. But again, I'd love to get them in a room.
Yeah, I want to hear all
hear all the stories, you know.
And I don't necessarily believe the negative stuff is happening at all. I just caution the whole idea of like blindly going into it thinking that everything's going to be, again, beer and Skittles, where having some sort of backup plan to run away if you have to kind of thing might be a good idea too. I don't know. Maybe that crosses it.
Well, I think more studies have to be done on it. Just like he references a lot of things like field consciousness, kind of the understanding of space and time. Like constantly, like humans are trying to figure that out. They're trying to find more proof for that theory. So I feel like it's the same thing. It's like you need to do the investigations that he's doing to have communication so that you can create an understanding of what that is and what that means. So, but if we're afraid and we don't even start that process, then we're screwed. We don't even know how powerful we are as humans on this planet if we're afraid, if we're getting the military together to blow up things that we don't understand.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying go in with an attitude of like, I got my hand on the trigger just in case. I'm just like, I'll use the word more caution.
Pew, pew.
You don't need to bring a gun to a CE5 event. Let's just be clear.
One particularly powerful thing he said that really resonated with me was when Greer was talking about how governments are well aware that it's harnessing the power of consciousness that is the actual power in the world. Like, it's not how many nuclear weapons we got and, how strong our military is. The power of utilizing your own consciousness and it got me thinking about, like, MK Ultra and manipulating a society to think in a certain way. That power over people's consciousness is the strongest thing. And it was like, yeah, man, that's totally right. That jumped out to me as like, damn, that's good stuff, Greer. I'm on board.
Yeah, there's so much good stuff about this documentary. And when we come back, we're going to break down a bunch more about it. All right, we're back, people. One thing we want to talk about is some of the more amazing stories and UFO shots and events that are in the film. I mean, there's so much that's really cool about this, but there's a couple of things I thought were really cool that he brings up in this. One of the shots that really blew my mind was the UFO shot across the moon that seemed like it changed direction after supposedly we launched an energy weapon at it.
Yeah, that was
incredible.
Cool.
I've never seen that shot before. I mean, it's a small dot in the distance.
That was in space, right?
But the whole story... Yeah, it was in space. Mm-hmm. But the whole story of us, like, targeting UFOs and trying to shoot them down and using these energy weapons and, like, I mean, God, it's so foolish. And they keep dodging us and dodging us and dodging us. And Greer makes the point, like, if they were dangerous, if they wanted to, like, wipe us out, they've already had an excuse 100 times. Like, we keep, like, poking the bully, and the bully never does anything
Is there a reason,
like, if you're going to be scared about it?
There's that old adage that, the U.S. military will shoot first, ask questions later with these things. But is there a reason they started shooting other than, oh my God, it's different? Or, it could be the Ruskies or something. Did they just, like, fire at it because they didn't know what it was? Or are we really that numbskulled?
Well, maybe they did know what it was. I mean, we just don't know. I mean, like, they've been building the idea of the Space Force since the 80s. Like, and again, this isn't a secret space program episode, but, like, if that's true, then, maybe they do have contact. Maybe they do know what's going on, and maybe that they're trying to prevent them from being here. Because if they were here and they were peaceful, as Greer was saying, then how much control would they have over all the people they do? they probably wouldn't have much control. So they have to continue to hold their control on the planet, which is creating fear and owning the consciousness of the people.
See, there you go. That's what I think it is. It's owning consciousness. Yeah. So another part of this that was